All right, this lesson is on graphing special lines. And so basically, we're going to show you a couple unique or special case lines that, come up from time to time and show you how to graph them and what they really mean. They're not that difficult. They're actually kind of easy, but a lot of times they throw kids into a loop and they get kind of nervous and scared. And the two lines are like that I'm going to do two examples of are y equals a number and x equals a number, and how do we graph them. And I'm going to tell you right now that it's really quite simple. If I say y equals 3, I'm going to ask you, well, where does y equal 3? And so if you ask yourself that question, it's pretty simple. I'm trying to get my pen to come up here, but it doesn't want to. There we go, pen. And before I graph y equals 3, the first thing I'll do is I'll do like I always do is I'll put my axes and label them on, my arrows, and go like this. So if this is my x-axis and this is my y-axis, where does y equal 3? Well, y equals 3 right here on the y-axis, okay? And then I ask myself, well, where else does y equal 3? Well, y equals 3 everywhere else along this line right here. Anywhere along here, y equals 3. And that's what then forms the line for y equals 3. Y is 3 right here, y is 3 here. I don't care what x is. X can be anything it wants to be, but y has to always be 3 because that's the condition of this equation. Y equals 3. And so in this particular case, I can graph the line simply by drawing a horizontal line right here. So I'm going to grab my appropriate line tool, as I like to do, and I'm going to go like this and draw it right across here. And I'll turn it black. And I'm done. I've graphed the y equals 3. It was that simple. Of course, my last step associated with this will be to label it. And I'll just simply label it with y equals 3, like that. And now we can do x equals something too. In this particular case, I chose the number x equals minus 2 just to do a negative as well. And the same basic premise applies. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label my axes like so. And I'm going to put x here and y here. And I'm going to ask myself, where does x equal minus 2? Well, x is along this axis, okay? So it's along the x-axis. Well, that's 0. That's positive 2. I don't want positive 2. I want negative 2, so I have to go over here and plot my dot. And that dot's going to disappear. I'll try it again. Oh, it's going to disappear again. There we go. Okay. Now, where does x equal minus 2? Well, it equals minus 2 anywhere along here. Y can be anything. Y can be anything it wants, but x has to stay as minus 2. Okay. Now, I will then simply graph the line. I'll grab my insert tool, and here's my line. I'm going to go right here, straight up and down. This one is now a vertical line, okay? Should be perfectly vertical, straight up and down, and I'm done. Now I can simply label my graph. I'll just label it like this. I'll go like this, x equals minus 2, all done. Now, if you're asking me, well, what's the slope of these things, right? If you want to write the slope, and slope we use the letter m, so I'll just go back up here. Well, the slope of this line is flat. You might be able to guess, but the slope then of this line is m equals 0. We call that 0. Flat line, 0 slope, none at all. Now, it's a little more confusing here, but this line is perfectly straight up and down. And if you think of a flat line as having a slope of 0, and as we go up, the number increases, eventually it becomes as steep as we can make it. Well, we consider that to be sort of like infinite, and we can't give a number. We cannot assign a number to it. So we consider the slope of this line to be undefined. It's called m equals undefined. So those are the two special lines, a y equals and an x equals, and you'll run into these from time to time. I believe there's a couple on your worksheet for this week. I consider them relatively easy once you've seen how they go. If you haven't seen, it's like really confusing. How do I do this? Because it's not really similar to anything you've seen before. So those are your special lines.